Thank you everybody for coming tonight. There are beverages in the back. The bathroom is at the top of the stairs as you came in. My name is John Cathro. I've been asked to moderate tonight's meeting, which is for quite a rare event, which is the by-election here in Castle for a council member. Our full election happens on a determined cycle, which will be next November. So it's a limited engagement that you're going to be voting on. Thank you everybody for coming. I've received questions here. Anybody can fill in a card, find a way to bring it to me. I will read the questions. There's really very, very simple rules. You folks ask the questions. Everybody will answer it. So if you say to Molly, I want to know such and such, just keep in mind that everybody is going to answer that question. I will try and rotate to the best of my ability to keep it random so that nobody is ever last all of the time. The other thing is I've asked each of the candidates, keep your answers very short. I'm talking like a minute at the outside. We've already got 15 questions here. I want to make sure that we have enough time for people to give their energy and their thoughts and their insight to the questions that you've brought, but that everybody has a chance to speak. Other than that, we're here until 9 o'clock. If I feel it's waning before then, I won't just stretch it out to 9 o'clock because I'm paid for the full 2 hours. If there's an interest to extend it because we're really getting down to some important stuff, by all means I will do that, but I will look to each of you to sort of give you the signals that we want to go on. And hi Tom. Other than that, those are the rules. That's the format. This is an all-candidates meeting. The press is here, and I think we're ready to go. Any questions or comments about the format or the process before we get into the actual questions?
Do we get a statement from each person to begin with, or do you begin with the questions?
I was going to start with the questions. I would have started there had it been a little quieter in here and nobody had given me questions, but I'm actually thinking, based on the interest so far, and based on questions that may come up afterwards, I'd like to give it a little bit more time for the immediate questions that are here. I will point out that the Valley Voice did a great job of providing a 2-page fold-out version of the platform and the bio of everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, Pat. I'll take that. Any other questions before we jump right in? I will say, in the spirit of full disclosure, I know each of these people, although I only met Michael 12 minutes ago. I live in the regional district, so I can't vote. So that may be one of the reasons I was asked to do that. And I've been given a bunch of questions. I'll just sort of mix them up here. And this is one that wasn't written on the official form, but we're in Caslo, so I think we can add that to the staff. This is a short one, so I'm going to start with this one. And it may actually fit in, Stephanie, with what you're looking for. What is your vision for Caslo? Remember, you have a minute. Jonathan, why don't we start with you?
Perfect, thank you. My vision for Caslo is a place where each and every one of us can survive, maybe even thrive, where we have the ability to enjoy everything that is around us and live our life the way we choose, and yet we're supported in that, where each of us feels that we have a voice in where our lives are going and the direction that it's being taken. Council is just that. It's a council. It's a representation of everyone's voice, and I don't think that everyone's voice has been heard. And my vision is that everyone's voice will be heard.
Thank you. Michael, you're expecting to go to you next. It's not going to work that way tonight. We'll come down to this end.
Darn, I was thinking I could. I think my vision for Caslo is that we continue to honor the values that we have here already while trying to move forward into the future. And I agree with John that we really need to have people's voices heard and engage the community. Try and find the things that you want us to help you with the vision.
Great. Thank you, Molly. Michael?
I believe that anyone that's elected is actually an employee. You are the bosses. You dictate what you want. And I feel that present council has lost touch with that. And I see a lot of signs popping up. I see council not interacting. I don't see the openness that should be there. And I envision for Caslow really being how it was from what I hear about 10 years ago. Certainly my family and I, we came up here several times before deciding to move here. We liked the frontier spirit, we liked the way everyone was a neighbor, and we want to keep it that way. And I don't want to see the village actually start to pull apart from all these factions. And I want us to just be able to live like we did 10 years ago, or like I would have liked to have lived 10 years ago. And I don't know if that was an economic question on the future, but maybe if it is, you can rewrite another card, because I think most of us haven't answered it that way.
V is not capitalized, if that helps. It's a small V. Very general vision. Thank you, Michael. Henry?
I'll keep it short. The vision that I like to see, or think, is that we can all work together and also communicate more with each other so we can promote this town better, so we have, you know, we need some help with the businesses. We seem to lose them here in town. We need to focus on bringing something to this town that will help promote it a little, because if we don't do anything, we're just going to die. And that's, it's a beautiful place. We got to keep it the way it is. Take down the signs. There's too many signs around town that, you know, don't put up fences. We shouldn't have fences. We should take them down. You know, we should live all together and we all respect things, I'm sure, in town, because we're not going to destroy anything.
Thank you, Henry.
Yours?
Dustin?
Sure. I've been around Caslow for about 10 years, just observing and then being part of different economic development projects. And I've seen actually Caslow, in my mind, getting better all the time. Jazz Fest getting better, the parades have been getting better. The way people get along, the way that we're taking care of each other. So I think we're actually on a good trajectory to just keep continue doing that. I see more young people, I see a lot of families buying houses here lately. In my vision, I just want to make sure that the people that do decide to live here can afford
You need support. You do that on purpose, guys.
Yeah.
Is this your bed?
I just want to make sure young people can live here and the seniors can live here, and we can all work together and we can afford to do the things that we came here to do, whether it's hiking, kayaking, skiing, all this stuff, that we can make it happen and be a really strong knit community that can provide capacity for all these tourists that want to come here and be here, and for us to be able to, in a sense, capitalize that and allow everyone to thrive, especially local businesses. We'll go with that.
Thank you, Dustin.
All right.
Greg, last word to you.
Well, I have a hope that we're in a transition in terms of our community. And I would like to see a more inclusive engagement of the citizens in the community to identify what the future opportunities and challenges are for the community. And that's about it. I'm willing to take other questions, and I also have a website. I don't know, am I allowed to say that?
You know what? You're allowed to say the website, right? We live in a free society.
So I hope people will go to my website and share their thoughts and ideas.
Great, thank you. On that note, I think it's a good segue to the next question. And Greg, I'm going to start with you. What is your plan to ensure respectful, meaningful public consultation prior to making a decision?
I think you need a good moderator. Yeah, what I find in a lot of these discussions and meetings is you need somebody to facilitate the discussion so that it doesn't end up in a state of confusion. And good facilitation starts with defining terms, because there's a lot of different meanings to different terms. So one of the challenges, I think, as a community is get on the same page in how we're defining certain terms, one of them being sustainable development.
Thank you, Greg. Dustin?
From what I've seen so far, based on events that we've done here, Kickstart Caslow, open space events, I think that engagement starts with the community coming together, having conversations, and then having a common theme for action. I see a lot of grassroots things that have happened just from these small events. Kickstart Caslow, even I saw a lot of headway in our food industry happen. I saw a lot of things come out of our Chamber of Commerce in terms of even in the Coop route, working together with towns around us. And I think by bringing people together, having conversations, and especially when it's in times of when a decision is about to be made, let's get together, have a conversation, be heard, and then make a choice of how that decision best gets carried out, whether it's a sort of grassroots movement. And then I feel as a counselor, it's like council only has so much capacity to make things happen. I think it's council's job in some respects just to simply get out of the way and allow the community to blossom and do the things that it wants to do.
Thank you, Dustin. Henry?
So the question, one more again?
The question is, what is your plan to ensure respectful and meaningful public consultation prior to making a decision?
Obviously, we have to have an open dialogue with the community and somehow be available to the community, that they can express their concerns to the individual. And my phone number is in the phone book, that we still know how to use the phone book. That's before you would make a decision, I guess.
Thank you.
Simple.
Michael?
I think that, as my posters say, I want to have round tables, and that's where people come together and we can talk. You can tell me what you're feeling and what direction you're wanting us to go in. It's basically being there, being a part of this community so that you understand the vibrations of this community. But above all, you've got to be accessible, approachable, and I don't envision this being a job where you're just going to be there during council meetings and a little bit of reading before. What you want to do is be out in the community, involved in the community, know most of the people in the community, and be approachable. And when people come to council meetings, be able to ask questions, to state their comments. I noticed council meetings seem to be about 45, 50 minutes. To me, that's unreal. People should be able to come in from the public. They should be able to hear you. They should have the agenda in front of them for those that want to read it and see what the issues are. And those are issues that people have brought forward, and you talk about them, and the public is fully involved. And you don't, like, I looked at council meetings, 7 letters. I will redirect it to the Chief Administration Officer. I'm sitting there, or watching these things. What 7 letters? About what? Why am I even here? You know, I don't want to be a part of the woodwork. Neither do you, right? So what we have to do is face back our government and say, this is what we are. We are all the community. We all have a voice, and you're going to hear my voice, or you're out. And so I want to be here. So I'm going to be there listening to you. And I hope you all feel free to be able to come and talk to me, and that we can have these meetings and express our views. I also envision, what I want to see is that we even have meetings where we can talk about other issues that even involve the province. There's a lot of issues that are here. I've heard of people that have to leave Caslow because they can't find a rental. That's insane. We're losing our neighbors, our friends, to situations that should not exist. There are solutions. And as we as a community can come together and we can find better solutions. And I have a lot of solutions that I've already thought about. I see them, some of them are so simple, it just takes effort and a little guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I will remind folks that when I start wandering across, it's generally sort of timing in communication. Just because we got a lot of questions and I want to give everybody an opportunity to answer. Thank you. Molly.
Well, I think it's important that if we're going to engage the public, we have to give them time to be able to look at all the information. And it's important that the information is put out there from both sides. And I think it's important that we provide access for everybody. Sometimes seniors can't get, so it's important that we find a venue that everyone can get to. And it's important that, as you know, we do need to have a moderator, someone who will set the ground rules and give everybody an opportunity to talk, listen to everybody's side. And then we need to find a way that we can put the information together so that we can come up with the best decision.
Great, thank you, Molly. Jonathan, last word to you.
I think ultimately it comes down to communication. Communication from council to the community, from the community back to council. There's many ways that can be done, and I would look into whichever would work best. Drop-ins, online communities, dedicated to sharing information from council to the community, but not part of the community web so that it gets lost with everything else. Let's keep it separate for those that are interested and truly want to share their opinion. It needs to be more than email and electronics because people don't always use that. It needs to go out to them in writing so that people can actually see it. It needs to be in advance. People need to know not only what is coming up, but what has happened. Oftentimes you'll see notices of upcoming meetings. Whatever happens at those meetings, I don't know, it never comes back out. I have to go looking for it. I shouldn't have to, it should come to me if I really want it. And so that's what I mean by communication, sharing all the information from you to me and back again. Thanks.
That's the end of our second question. I'll remind people to write the question on a card and give it to me. It will be added to the pile. How are people feeling? Are we doing okay so far, just from a process perspective? Good. We're going to change gears significantly here. This is actually, many questions are open-ended. This one is quite closed. Yes or no, are you in favor of the expansion of the sewer system, and why? We'll start with Michael.
I don't think that sewer system should have ever been started in the first place. I think where it's located is absolutely ridiculous. There was another option that would have been better suited. From what I understand, we saved a few dollars for putting it where it is now. That's not an acceptable course. There's some things more important than money, and I think the people living in that town will agree with me on that. I think it's not for council to decide that big an issue. Big issues like that would be like we've got by-election right now, we've got elections. You have a referendum and you put it to the people and you tell them point blank, this is what it's going to cost, this is going to be the consequences, this is going to be the benefits. And then you go with the people. And I think that's where being in council can get a little difficult, because whatever I feel, right, it's you people too. No one, especially 4 or 5 people, have the right to decide on something like the sewer system. It's not acceptable. And we are going to be saddled with a bill, and we're going to be saddled with the consequences. That beach, with the sewer system there, do you really want to go swimming in it? Right? Yet it could have been further off. A few more dollars. We have a lift station where it was supposed to be coming up pretty well around. Why? And how many of you were consulted? How many of you actually? Okay. How many of you are happy with the decision? And how many of you had any input? And I better, he's getting closer.
But to be clear, this isn't about me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Michael, thank you. Nice to see you embrace your answer like that. Molly, please.
Yes, I do believe we should expand the sewer, but on the condition that it's only a specified area. And I believe we need to expand the sewer because I do actually believe, unless I'm mistaken, eventually all communities will need to have a sewer system. And secondly, we need to address affordable housing in our community. And we can't do that without a sewer system.
Great. Thank you, Molly. Henry.
I have to agree with Molly because, like you said, there's so many rules now that we're going to be pressured to get that done. So why not get on the bandwagon and try it slowly somehow? I don't know all the details, but I agree it should be expanded, but I don't like to be saddled with fiscal money either. It's something quite controversial, but I think it should be done, but Mr. Eads.
Thank you, Henry. I'm sorry, is it John or Jonathan? I think it's your name.
It's John.
John.
Just,
Sorry for calling you the wrong name.
don't you, I answered almost anything.
There you go. John, please, you're next.
Honestly, do I agree or not? I'm not certain that I have an opinion one way or the other right now. Obviously, if it's controversial, it's because people have varying opinions. Again, it comes down to communication. Did they talk to anybody before a decision was made? Is anybody aware of why a decision might be made to do it? That's my question, and that's all I have to say. It's not informed how we can make any sort of decision.
Okay, great. Thank you. Greg.
I struggle with this sewer system. We were one of the first municipalities in the province to do a sewer system based on a specified area. And that was done because there was a sense that there was some, serious contamination problems occurring. In terms of Upper Caslow and properties on the other side of the river, costing all this out in the 21st century is to have a system, to me, that was born in the 18th century is a little bit counterproductive, because there are systems out there that you can put in your home as long as it meets a certain standard. So I would be looking at the impacts of the sewer system in terms of effects on the lake, but I really think that I agree with Molly, it should be for a specified area where contaminants may reach the lake. But other areas, there are sewer systems a lot cheaper than what this system would cost us in the end analysis. And please ask me a question on my website and I'll fill you in on some other ideas.
And just so everybody knows, the website is greglay.com, or what is it?
I think it's greglay4council@gmail.com.
Thank you, Greg. Dustin.
Short answer, yes. I think that, there may have been a mistake a few years ago when we had the chance to put it in. And now I think I agree too. Let's do it in stages as we can afford to do it. Apply for every single grant under the sun to get the money to put it in. I think doing Lower Caslow first, just ecologically, having septic fields down there probably isn't the best idea. And potentially working with kin to lay fiber lines and get the machines out there at the same time. And just do it the most cost-effective way. Caslow is growing. It's going to continue to grow. There's lots of lots down there that can be utilized. And if it helps affordable housing and allow more people to live here, or us to have higher density housing in Caslow to make more affordable living, then I'm for it. So that's my short answer is yes, I think we need to do it. We just need to do it carefully and just do it in a budgeted way so it doesn't affect taxpayers too much.
Can I just clarify what that?
Let's specify what.
Well,
specify it.
just, you know, my interpretation and the interpretation in the past of a specified areas, that those are the people that pay for it, so that the whole community isn't taxed on it.
So in other words, you get hooked up, you pay,
Right,
doesn't affect people who aren't.
that aren't in the
Thank you,
specified
Mark.
area.
For your information, for those of you keeping score, we had 3 questions on the sewer system. I rolled them into one as part of my job as the moderator. The next question was 2 cards, one of which is actually 2 pages long, and one of them which is actually quite short, but it's the same sort of thing. It's a, they're very, very close. So I'll read the preamble and then roll up the actual question. Come on in. Kate, there's questions there. If you want to write down a question, thank you. And anybody else who wants to give me a question, by all means, hi Harvey. I'm enjoying. So first of all, the preamble. Given that global temperatures have increased by 1% Celsius, which has contributed to climate-related disasters, some of which were the most destructive fires in BC history, what would you do as a council member to help our area not only adapt, but also reduce its carbon footprint? So that's sort of the general question. The more specific question, if I can roll them together, is would you like to move Caslo toward being carbon neutral? So my apologies to the question asked answers if I missed the intent of both questions by rolling them into one. But I'd like to start with Dustin.
Sure. In the first question, after I talked about it, I'm like, about the vision. I think Caslo has this unique opportunity to become almost like an epicenter of renewable energy. We have solar panels going up all over the place. We have the potential for microhydro. And maybe people have seen my brother and his little golf cart that he invented. We've been running construction sites off this golf cart, not running generators, backing up houses, taking people off the grid. The Eco Society in Nelson is campaigning to have the Kootenays carbon neutral by 2050, which I don't think it's 100. They say 100%. I'd say let's go for like 90% carbon neutral. Be like realistic. We're still going to use fossil fuels and that type of thing. And I see Caslo being as a place, you know, as if that people could look at to say, look at what Caslo did. They got their microhydro. They got their electric car charging stations. I see more and more people purchasing electric bikes just to zip up and down the hill so that they're not sweaty when they want to come downtown and get some groceries. They're simple, they make sense, and I think Caslo has a huge opportunity to go carbon neutral, and why not? It only makes sense.
Thank you, Dustin. Greg.
Well, I think the climate change is here, there's no question about it. And I think we have to take advantage of the new technologies that are coming down in price. Solar comes to mind, microhydroelectric comes to mind. But there's a challenge, and and all councils are challenged by the fact that we have 2 suppliers of electricity, Hydro and Fortis. So it's trying to find a pathway forward at the political level to encourage Hydro and Fortis to help us become carbon neutral with all the resources that we have available, especially here in Canada.
Thank you, Greg. John.
On an individual level, each of us should be striving towards carbon neutrality. As a community, I'm not sure that's possible. Maybe in the long run, maybe with a lot of coming together and talking about it, but as Mr. Lay just pointed out, I mean, we are limited in who does provide power up this way at this point, and trying to go around that is not going to be easy, it's not going to be quick, and it's not going to be cheap. But it's doable if we really want to do it as a community, and we could find a way to do it if we wanted to.
Thank you, John. Henry.
Carbon neutral, as a council, you can't really do much in that respect. You could promote it, but it involves the whole community to have to participate in something like this to strive towards this goal. So I have no idea how we can do that, sir. We all have to give up our fireplaces, and I don't know if that's going to happen
Well,
Thank you, Henry. Molly?
I think that, with education, we can help promote carbon neutrality. I think that we can provide, age-friendly communities. I think there's lots you can do actually as a council to support that. I think that we need to have fire-smart communities, so disasters like what happened this summer don't happen. There, as others have said, there's chances for micro hydro plants, there's chances for solar power. I mean, we live in a pretty amazing community where you can really go sustainable. I mean, there's lots of Saturday markets where you can buy local, you don't need to have stuff trucked in. I think there's lots of ways that we can become carbon neutral.
Thank you, Molly. Michael, last word to you on this question.
We used to have an organic farm, so sustainable is a very deep issue with us. In 1977, UBC made a house with solar panels. It was fully functional. Even in winter, the solar panels would provide enough hot water for them to have showers, do their laundry, keep their home warm. If they could do that 40 years ago, I don't see why there's even a deadline of 2050. I'll be long dead. I don't know if they'll have made it by then. We have wind power, we have solar power. I think we're well suited for this. I think 100% will never happen as much as we want it. I think we can make 100% on our government buildings. I think there's grants out there probably for developing new buildings that, like remodeling and getting more environmentally friendly and sustainable. I think that's one of the things when I said as a community we can come together and think of a few solutions. I think the fireplaces, I don't know if people that are saying 100% are considering the pollution that natural wood would make. I don't see us getting rid of that, and I think also that brings people a lot of comfort, and I don't believe it's a large polluter in such a sparsely populated area. It's certainly cleaner than oil, and it's or coal, and I mean, yeah, it's a huge issue. I think it's an issue that we'll have to approach as a species, but I think there's also other areas out there, like banning pesticides and that threaten us more. Like, if the bees die, we as a species will die. And that's not being looked at. So whether we're 100% or whether we're making sure that other areas that threaten us more, that aren't getting the headlines, are dealt with more urgently. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I will remind folks that I'm collecting cards here. If you have a question you'd like me to present to the candidates, I'd be happy to. This one, I think, hopefully was handed to me just now because I should have read it at the beginning to follow up on Stephanie's request. But we're going to keep this one really short because I know you can go on and on at length at this one. What are your unique strengths that you bring to council? And I'm going to start with Molly.
I think communication has been a strong point for me. I really tried when I was on council before to communicate with the public, and I think engagement is another. In my professional life, that's something that I work really hard at, and I think I'm good at it.
Great, thank you, Molly. John.
Definitely communication is one of the skills that I possess. I'm able to listen to and talk to anybody. I open my mind to anybody who takes the time to talk to me. I also believe that I have a certain skill in my ability to fight for what is right. I've done it all my life. I've had to fight for everything that I've achieved, everything that I've attained, and I've done it, and I'm still doing it. And I'm not going to change who I am, and I'm not going to stop doing that. Done.
Thank you, John. Henry?
Now, I have to admit, communication is not my best forte. I have ESL, English Second Language. I have other issues according to the wife. I'm getting into that. No, that too. I've been self-employed for 30 years. I have a successful business. I have quite a few employees, so I knew how to handle those, I thought anyway. I know the town is a business in a sense. You have money coming in, money going out. I've been involved in the tourism committee in the firm. We did some interesting things in there, and I'd like to bring those ideas to the community to promote some economical things. And in the tourism, I was involved quite a bit. And anything that I never really was a bystander or a looker. I usually got involved in stuff and did things with the community that I live. And I'm doing that here too. I'm involved in quite a few things actually. So I have some experience. I cannot pinpoint exactly what, but I like to do the time and do my best. And I have a phone number.
Great, which is an old-fashioned website, right?
That's right. I don't do Facebook. That is something that I'll stay away from. I did it for a week and it was telling me what to do. I have one of those at home already, so I didn't even know.
Dustin, your unique strength that you bring to council.
Unique strength. I guess municipal strength. I worked for the city of Revelstoke, I worked for the city of Nelson, I worked for the RDCK, all administration, corporate finance, and had a chance to do anything from inventory all of Nelson's assets to presenting to council, been friends with a lot of councillors, mayors, prepared agendas for them, took minutes for them, just really got to understand the process of how a council room works, how change gets made, and how healthy communication goes back and forth between a municipality and the people. In Caslo, I took that to heart when I got to do the project, when I got to do Project Comeback, where I got to study the young people and how to bring them back, find out what was needed there. And then I got really good at applying for grants. We got another one to do the Business Retention and Expansion Project. We did a project up the lake called the Rural Revival Project. And in all of this, I got to meet people all over, all of the lake, from every demographic. Working downstairs at the food hub has allowed me to meet people that you might not meet in this community, people on disability, people that are seniors, people that are young families that are here, and I get to help them make it sometimes. You know, it's a make or break community when you come here for the first 6 months. And sometimes I've had the chance to see firsthand how important some of our programs and even just being an employee of community services is. Also, even affordable housing, I've seen a lot of my friends buy property in Upper Caslo on the back road. I just bought a piece of property on the back road. I see ways forward in affordable housing, and I think it's possible. And I think small housing and building efficiently and building well is totally possible. So affordable housing, my municipal experience, my experience with community services, and just my general overall experience engaging with communities and following rural trends and techniques of helping rural communities thrive.
Michael.
Okay, I believe one of my unique strengths is that I love reading what ifs. And I think that fits my personality, is what if this is done, right? And trying to find solutions. I would say I'm more of a troubleshooter, not troublemaker, troubleshooter, though some people might disagree. I have an attitude, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But if it is broken, then fix it. As you can see, I'm running for council. I see something that's broken, I want it fixed. I want it put back the way it should be. Right? I've got background in business. I've got background in as an ombudsman, and I've been asked, what is an ombudsman? That's someone who receives a complaint, they investigate it, they research it, they try coming up with a solution, they approach the different parties, they can make rulings, and they can enforce results. And that, I think, has helped me with my life. I think also I just care. And I think that's also something that's bothered me in life, because I've got business side, and then I've also got the medical side. I've done a lot of like first aid and working and studying medicine. Not that I ever progressed in it, but so there's that humanitarian side, then there's the business side that sees how to invite business, how to progress, how to make things, but not on a corporate type mentality where it's, what's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? We hear that so much now. That's not necessary with business. Being able to do our own small businesses that help one another, that sustain one another, and casual is great. If you guys actually looked around and saw, you know, I get someone to do this for me, and then they go and they take that money and they get someone else. We have such a micro industry here, and I think it is fantastic. And I have traveled to 20 countries. I've lived in several countries, and to see the way that people approach things, and I bring that with me. I absorb it like a sponge, and then I see, I'm here now, I can do that. This is it. But above all, I talk, I communicate, I can voice what I think, and you people voice what you think, and we're better.
Thank you, Michael. Craig, last word to you on your unique strengths that you bring to council.
Well, given that we have a one-year term for this by-election, I think what I would bring to the council is knowledge and experience, because the council already has an agenda. And many of the comments here tonight involve change, and I'm just not too sure that the ability to change a direction in the council is with new ideas. You can certainly put them out there, but the bottom line is politics is a very challenging environment to work in. And if, as Molly pointed out, if you've been in it, you have a little bit of a sense of how you can achieve certain goals and get the political support around the council to be able to do so.
Thank you, Craig. That's kind of a nice segue to the next question. First of all, not to be too redundant, if you do want to ask a question, write it down. I'm down to about 4 cards. I'm just coming up at 10 minutes to 8. The second thing I'd like to say is, I didn't probably express it clearly enough. Thank you for each of you for coming out, for putting your name, your hat in the ring, your name on the ballot, as it were, and for coming tonight. I think it's fantastic, and thanks to you folks for what democracy feels like on a Tuesday night. So thank you, Friday. But it is democracy. This one is hopefully quite a short answer. It shouldn't be a paragraph. It should be sort of more of a number or a date. When was the last time you attended a council meeting? Henry. 10 minutes are taken, so we can factor all of this.
Last year.
Last year? Very good. Nice short answer, very factual. Thank you, Henry. Michael?
I believe it was Tuesday.
This Tuesday?
Yeah.
Isn't that tonight?
Wasn't it Tuesday? It was Tuesday.
Okay. Greg?
Last year, and part of there is that I had to have an ankle fusion operation that kind of kept me horizontal for longer than what I like, but certainly challenging mobility issues getting up and downstairs. And I've been to an awful lot of council meetings.
I guess. Thank you, Greg. Molly?
July.
July. This year?
This year.
Great, thank you. John?
Honestly, never. And I guess I have to say, as somebody who hasn't been here very long and hasn't been here very long, I never really felt encouraged to. And so I never actually have attended one.
Thank you. Dustin?
I was there on Tuesday. I went to the committee of the whole meeting, which was actually quite informal. I recommend going to the committee whole meetings because that's where they actually talk about things. Also have a comment about Mr. Lay's experience of not being able to get up those stairs. I asked a question when I'm like, well, why aren't these recorded? You know, where's the microphones and what's happening? And what I was told was that they don't want to buy microphones because they want to wait to move into the new building. I was a little leery about that answer. As councillor, one thing that I want to do is actually just simply walk in with my cell phone or my laptop and a $70 microphone and just simply record, so that if you cannot make it up those stairs one day and you want to hear what's happening with your variance or what's happening with the gate or what's happening in just the conversation that happens around that, something that I want to see, just more transparency. And I also sat on the SEDS committee for the Social Economic Development Committee for quite a long time. Not on the committee, but they were my advisory committee for the Business Capacity and Expansion Project, Farm Reform. And so I have a lot of experience working with all the councillors and people there.
But you were there last Tuesday.
I was there on Tuesday. Yeah.
I see people getting up. I'm not sure if they're moving towards the door to leave. You're writing a question down. John's bringing a question. I'll shuffle it into the deck. Thank you, sir. Next question. This has come up already in the answers to some of the other questions. Have you given any thought to the dire lack of affordable housing in our area, and what would you do to create solutions for this problem? John.
Well, obviously solutions to this problem aren't as easy as people might want to think, because otherwise we have them already. I know there's solutions out there, and I know they can be found. People are constantly commenting on things that they see that might work, things that we can look into, and it takes time to look into all of that. Do we need affordable housing? Definitely. That goes without a doubt. Without people being able to live here, there's going to be no community, there's going to be no village, there's going to be no need for a councillor. So, yeah, affordable housing is where it's at. How we go about doing it, I don't know yet, but I know that we can. Again, I know we can if we all work together. I know there are people who are already looking into it. I know Mr. Lay has already done some research into that. If we all came together and worked together, we can make anything happen.
Thank you, John. Molly.
Well, I think that the one thing we don't need is another consultant to tell us that we have affordable housing issue. But, you know, I think there's lots of things that we can explore. There are small houses, as someone said. I saw an article recently about laneway housing that they're looking into in Nelson. I think we need to really work towards trying to get seniors out of their homes, so expanding Abbey Manor or putting more beds up at the long-term care. And I think there's communities around here like Slocan and Samuel who have got housing projects, so we need to visit them to find out how they went about getting their funding. And I do believe that we need to expand the sewer system so that people can build on smaller lots.
Thank you, Molly. Michael.
I'd like to look into the feasibility of taxing the summer homes only. And there would be two solutions with that is that money we could give them like the dollars that the Commerce has, so they have to spend them within the community so they're not just being taxed. Or alternatively, putting that money into a fund to develop more affordable housing. It is legal, there'd be some adjustment to it. I think it's an approach that would probably be good. I think what's really hurting Caslo a lot is we're not just losing our population. We're losing our buying power because of that. And I think we're losing it because people are being forced out of their homes because the homes are being sold to people that are just going to be here for a month or two and be gone the rest of the year. Now, I'm not talking about taxing residents who are living here and go away during the winter or anything like that. I'm talking about people that are coming here and are not particularly helping our economy, and if anything, are hurting it. You figure you have 100 people, and they have, say, or 100 homes, and you have my calculations would be that be a revenue of about $3.5 million for this village. So you figure on that. I think the reason for expanding the sewer is because they want to annex the outside areas. That's the main push. And I think we could also do sweat equity. We can back people. There is land put aside. I've come across that with my snooping around. There is actually some land within the village that is supposed to be for affordable housing and is not being used for that. We are going to use it, people. And I have a lot more to talk to you after. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, affordable housing, I'm all for it, but I think that having business in town is kind of tied in with that, because if we don't have work, what are we going to draw on? Just people from Vancouver because we need to live here. This property, I've heard too that it is available, so there is also property for the expansion of the old Abbey Manor there. But the cost, because you got to go by regulation of the government to build something like that, it's a bizarre. One of those little one-bedroom homes that we have at Abbey Manor would amount to $100,000. You can build quite a nice home for that, if you ask me, of property if you already own. So there are, the money is the problem. So where is it going to come from? And I don't know. I'm all for it. It is businesses need this support, so you got to try to get them into town. You got to help them in a way by putting down the hurdles. I have phone number. Talk to me. Give me ideas.
Dustin?
Well, I guess, we have a society that's in charge of this. I think they're quite capable. And last time I talked to them, they said, well, yeah, there are some pieces of village land out behind the works yard, stuff that we've been talking about forever. To me, it's like, I want to see a plan on paper, drawn up, multi-use residential space, food forest, shared septic fields, or shared sewer, however that works, shared even utility costs, maybe like a wood-fired boiler that heats a whole bunch of small little houses. I see there being a way out. I figure if you can live $500 utilities in Caslow, you can have a $15 an hour job and stay here and still be able to enjoy life. It's pretty simple. Like we need fair wages, and I think coming together on one strategy and just going after it that way. Also, I just bought a piece of land with a friend. I bought an acre, tenants in common. There's acres next to it. It's like there's strategies. The lawyers called the real estate agent. She helped me do up agreements so that I could own property with somebody else, build on it. I'm friends with builders, guys like Tom and town, people that can help build economically and also within a budget. And I still think it's possible. I watched my friend build a place up the road. And so we just need to be creative on this and encourage people to do it. And sometimes it's just scary to take a leap into owning property. So I think drawing it up. Another thing Nelson's facing is Airbnbs. It's a big thing. There's no affordable, the Airbnbs are all rented out, so rentals are being snatched away. I had this idea talking to John the other day of like, well, what if, because now we're trying to rezone our Airbnbs into C3 so that they're commercial so that we can track them. I figure if we're tracking them, well, can we tax them? Kind of like hotel tax, except we dump the hotel tax back into affordable living tax. I'm open to ideas too. I don't have the solutions. I just know that there are ways out. John's looking at me. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Justin.
That's all right.
It's my job.
Huh?
Greg, last word to you on this question of affordable housing.
Well, when I was first elected to council, I was put on the housing committee. So it's been about 15 years we've been walking down this road. It's very challenging. And one of the biggest challenges is the current regulations. And unless we can change the regulations, you can't get a mortgage and you can't get fire insurance. So there's a bigger issue. However, having said that, on November the 1st, thanks to some local people, they are running a one-day workshop conference on affordable housing in rural areas in Castlegar. And I signed up for it, and I'm looking to go to that conference because all communities are being, and we talked about trying to be cooperative. And I think rural communities need to work together so we can go to government and say, we as rural communities, mayor here, mayor here, mayor here, want the government to change the ability of a small house to be built. So I'm going to this conference on November the 1st. There's in Castlegar, there's one in Cranbrook, one in Castlegar, and I think I forget what the other one is. But it is focused on ruralness for once. We have a new government, and I think they might be a little more open to ways in which we can make this happen. The other thing is the village is doing a large land use study. And at the same time I was appointed to the housing committee way back when, the mayor of the day wanted to take the property across from the golf course and develop that property with mixed housing. Because we all lived through, you know, the situation up on 8th Avenue where the government dumps down a bunch of houses and moves people in from the city. So affordable housing is really high on my list of things to do, elected or not elected, because rural communities rely on the ability to attract young people, as Dustin points out, who want to try and build something. And actually, I've done a lot of work on mini houses, you know, on trailers, and it's big in the States because they recognize that. So yeah, I'm very interested. That would probably be given that the land use study is going to identify what these village lands, we've got hundreds of thousands of dollars of property values sitting there vacant. And my question to the council of the day would be, can we not give a piece of land for $1 to the housing society so they can go to the bank and say, we now own a piece of property, can we get a but the property would be vested with certain conditions. You got to put in your own sewer system, you got to have a community garden, you got to have food access. So I think there's some real, like I'm saying, elected or unelected, I'm going to pound this thing until we get affordable housing in Caswell.
Thank you, Greg. A couple of quick questions. We're going to go quickly up the line and then quickly back. 2 quick ones in a row. Are you ready for that? Hopefully these are quick. I'm working on it. That was me priming you for... it isn't clear the penmanship here. What would you do to provide public tailors in Caslow?
Toilets. What?
Toilets.
Actually, I think it's tailors. What would you do to provide public toilets in Caslow? Would you go quickly up the line and quickly back with another question?
Okay, public toilets has also been an issue that's been, you know, on council for a long, long time. And there has been some movement towards providing public toilets. I think there's lots of different ways we could look at it. You know, if we're looking at making age-friendly communities, then maybe there's grants that you can get because different people need toilets in, you know, different places, like on a trail or something. You know, there's grants maybe you can get so that the businesses that are being, you know, people come in just to use their washroom, maybe there's a way that they can help pay for their cleaning and supplies. I think we could, you know, maybe some of the places that do have public toilets, if they could stay open longer so that people have, you know, access to them other than during business hours.
Thank you, Molly. Henry.
Public toilets in Caswell.
In Caslow, yeah.
It'd be easy to have a nice little green strip there beside the hotel with this sewer hook up there. It can't be that much money to build a public toilet there, and then you have one on one end and you have one on the other end, because there is one by the campground, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm over
It's
there.
closed starting in October.
Yeah.
They're closed, they're already closed.
Yeah, but, so, then downtown would be the best one, so you can, people can kind of
So
watch
build
it.
it on the green space
Yeah.
next to the hotel.
Yeah,
Very good, great.
I'm all for it.
If elected, I would work really hard on that. I've been involved in that for quite a bit of time. What I think we need is, what does it cost? What would the impact be on taxpayers? Have a public involvement process and say, are you prepared to see some increase in your taxes allocated to these public toilets? Because Cassel's tourism business is growing. And my substantial other walks on trails with our dogs, and one of the biggest barriers is human defecation. So, I mean, why this issue can't be put together in a reasonable way, as Val pointed out. I mean, so if elected, I'm not going to let that go.
Did you write that question, Greg? You kind of
I'm with these guys. Look for any solutions. Apply for grants. Build on the green space. Build a state-of-the-art composting super toilet that we can show off and say, look at how we get rid of our waste. You know, like a creative idea. Also, maybe recognize the businesses that have opened their doors and give them some sort of a little bit of a break to say, you know, here we'll take $500, $100 per year off of every toilet you have, whatever, and offering and show them that we care, that they are opening their doors, and use what already exists downtown.
Thank you, Dustin. Michael?
Oh, I think it's certainly antisocial to not let people have bathrooms. I think it's even more so when you have them and you lock them up. I think, one, keep the ones we have open. It's a no-brainer. I think we can look at ways of expanding that, even if they're just porta potties on some of the beaches. Like, I've heard that, you know, I went to the waterfront project both times. That's an issue. The beaches don't have porta potties. We've got one great one down by the marina, but no bathrooms there. You know, we've got a sewer system. We're stuck with it. Let's use it. You know, we want to be tourist-oriented, and yet we're going to tell the tourists, look, stop long enough, and then get the hell out of our village if you need the bathroom. You know? Or there's a trail down there, there's lots of trees. You know, it's ridiculous. And these are the little stupid things that are bogging us down that are totally unnecessary. Let's get these little things out of the way and get on with reality and solve issues like low-cost housing, getting doctors to live here. You know, I came up with a plan. When you get... If you want to hear about my plan, see me after. Or ask the question, ask what the plan is.
I am grateful for the bog reference. Did you guys catch that? Bog? John, final word on this one, then we're going to start a much quicker round.
Much quicker round going back the other way, you've got it. If we're going to invite people to come here, we have to have facilities for them to use. That means we either have to build or increase our existing facilities, or we have to compensate in some way people who are allowing the use of the existing facilities. There's no way around that. You don't get to give it away for free. Nobody wants to give it away for free, ultimately, right? So you expand on what we've got, green spaces, where we need them, strategically placed. You talk to businesses, you talk to buildings that are downtown on Front Street, and you say, you know, would you consider being open and allowing public? We'll put up a sign, and when we put up that sign, there'll be compensation to you in this amount. And we negotiate that, and that starts it off. All right? We can then work on building the other stuff that we need. But at least provide facilities that tourists and locals, all of us can use. I mean, I don't like using the bushes any more than most people, but I'll do it if I have to.
In the spirit of full disclosure. We're going to start with you and work quickly back the other way. What do you feel is an appropriate minimum wage for people in Canada?
Wow, that's a hard one. Because I know what I want my minimum wage to be. I know what most people want their minimum wage to be. Minimum wage is legislated by the province. Therefore, you pay people based on what that minimum wage is, and we work on making sure that the other prices are in line with that. So instead of giving people more money, we work on lowering the cost for those people, supporting them somehow if we have to as a community.
Thank you, Michael. I'm going to start here, just so you know. Go ahead.
Okay. I believe cost of living is a main issue. I mean, I've been places where you can live on $1 an hour and better than you can here. So really, the minimum wage is reflective on what does it cost for you to live, right? And I think we're very good at self-sufficiency. I think we could write the book on it as a community, and I think that helps us a lot. I'd like to see everyone making $15 an hour as a minimum wage, but I'd like to see that across the province. However, we do have the advantage. We do have a lower cost of living, I think, not because we are self-sufficient. You want to see, it's something like, I think, $30 an hour to live down in, it's like $30 an hour is the cost of living down in the lower mainland. Both people have to be working, you need 3 jobs, they say. But yeah, I just want to see people have an easier time, more self-sufficient, more opportunities. Minimum wage is insufficient, but it's a province-controlled thing. So let's help each other get even more, and we are good at it. When I need something, I go on the web, and I've got 4 or 5 people answering immediately. You won't find this in so many places in the world.
Thank you, Michael.
What I think?
What do you feel is the appropriate minimum wage for people? I think the person who asked the question is looking for a number.
$15 to $17 an hour with benefits. And how do you do that? I don't know. You look at the Kootenai Co-op, like in Nelson, they're talking about building more Kootenai Co-ops. I'd like to see a Kootenai Co-op in our grocery store where they take care of their employees and give them benefits and do that kind of thing. I think supporting all our local businesses as much as possible so that people like at the building supply and the restaurants can make that fair wage. And I believe it's possible, but it takes the whole community to support each other and make sure that the businesses are thriving so that they can give back to the community.
Thank you, Justin. Greg?
Well, I've been doing a lot of thinking and research into the urban divide and the rural divide. And the reality is businesses in urban areas are quite different, measurably different, as our friend down here has pointed out, than rural businesses. I think the way to, the minimum wage is a poor way to solve the problem. I think the businesses should look at ways to pay a wage that the business can stand and provide benefits. If the business is successful that year, some of those profit dollars are allocated to the people who made the business successful. And we're not talking big businesses here. We're talking small businesses. I think we have to try and find a way where the business generates sufficient profits to be able to say to a potential employee or employee, you help make my business successful, here's your check in December or whenever. Rather than set this minimum wage thing that really doesn't, in my mind, effectively benefit people who want to work for a minimum wage.
Thank you, Greg. Henry?
Short and sweet, $15, but plus benefits.
You're right, that is short and sweet. Thank you. Wally?
I think that's a hard question to answer because I think it's really dependent on businesses as well. I mean, trying to set a minimum wage that's affordable for the business and that people can live. So I think maybe there's like $15 comes to mind, but maybe there's other ways that employers can offer incentives that could be in lieu of trying to pay ways that they can't afford it. Again, when you solve all the problems of affordable housing and toilets, then maybe a little bit less.
Great. I see some new people in. The rules are write your question on a card, and I, as your moderator, will read that question. I kind of changed some of the questions just so you know my secret sauce here. We're here till 9 o'clock. I've got 7 questions, which is 3 more than we started with, so I appreciate your participation. And we have candidates for running for the by-election for Castle Council. Short answers, and everybody has to answer the question. Or say no comment, which is an answer that doesn't directly provide an answer. The next question, and I'm going to rephrase this one slightly by in two sentences. I'm going to put the first sentence first. The business section recently in October, on a morning in October, Front Street and Water Street had just 2 parking spaces. This is not good enough. What is your solution to provide adequate parking in the downtown? And I'm going to start with Greg.
Interesting that you would start with Greg. We had a prominent citizen who actually freed up a parking lot opposite the Catholic Church. And the oil company that owns it said, yes, you can use it. And I think, did we modify the taxes? Molly, I can't remember. So it blows me away to walk past the post office and see nobody parking there. So I'm sorry. There was to me, a simple solution to the parking situation that was totally ignored. And so, yeah, parking is an issue. I don't know how we expand. In fact, I wish we could look at more walking and less parking. So that's my. So there is a parking lot there. It was a hard-fought attempt to get it away from the oil company and let them use it because it's a contaminated site. So what else can you do with it? So they were kind enough to say so. I'd really like to put some signs up and direct people and say, hey, get your exercise for the day.
Perfect. Thank you, Greg. Justin.
Good one. I didn't even know about that parking lot. Parking there. Yeah, there's these kind of solutions, and then there's my pie in the sky kind of vision of like, why can't we have, like I've seen municipalities allow, say, like golf cart bylaws, where maybe Annie Manor can have their own fleet or 2 golf carts where the seniors can drive, or like Margot's little mobile, and you have more of those, but more of like in a co-op model. So if you need a golf cart, you need an electric bike, you need something as a resident, so you're not driving up and down the hill, and then and then just simply encourage walking, park, walk, and help each other out. You know, maybe we can find some solution to help people get things from town and deliver it to their house. I really just want to see this community really work together as much as possible and help each other so that we don't have to bring especially our own vehicles downtown as much.
Thank you, Dustin. Henry.
That's an interesting question. We had the same problem in the community that I lived before. And it is mostly the businesses that park right in front of their own doors because they have their right to park there, or they park next door in front of the other business. So we have to start with them to promote or tell the employees they cannot park on Main Street or even the block over. Like you said, there's that parking lot there, whatever, it needs a better signage. I mean, it's ridiculous, the sign is stuck in the fence way back, you drive by, you don't see it. It needs something up front, simple, big P, that's common known parking lot sign, going that way. Hopefully people will use it then. But parking, you're going to have that problem in every city. You know, and I think it starts with educating first the businesses, you know, promote or tell your employees, please park somewhere else. You know, and walk.
Thank you, Henry. Michael.
For one, I think we're plagued with petty signs, but non-informative signs. I, for the longest time, thought behind the Catholic Church there was RV parking. And if I, as a resident, don't know, how the hell is a tourist going to know, right? I think parking is a very serious problem here. We never should have had that spat with the hotel, thanks to our council. So we lost, what, about 8 parking spots there. I think 2-hour parking is difficult for a tourist town in the summer because what are you going to do? Just have them go to a restaurant and not go to the stores, or they're not going to be able to go to the beach or things. I think really we've got to come up with some solutions. I think some lighting or something for winter time in the Catholic area. Maybe that's where we should ask our employees to park if they're willing to, or that. I don't know. It's a problem that, like I said, I've got so many solutions. I think this is the only one that really stumps me. I think enforcing the 2-hour thing is counterproductive, especially for tourism, and I think for us as locals even. I don't know. I think that's something we need a round table on, guys. Because I think we can complain about it, but what's the solution? I don't know. I really don't.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Molly?
Well, I think that, as Greg said, leasing the SO parking lot was an attempt to try and alleviate the parking, but what my observation is that people want to park downtown. When they go to a store, they want to park outside their store. I think one of the things we really need to do is try and find ways that we can enforce our bylaws. I mean, there's no point making a bylaw that you can't enforce. So the 2-hour parking, yes, maybe a tourist wants to spend more time with that, but the 2-hour parking is only on Main Street or in the downtown core. So they can park over on the street near the post office and not have to worry about the 2 hours. I think the other thing is we need to make decisions that don't take away parking spots. And we have too small of a downtown core to take 2 or 3 parking spots for 1 or 2 businesses. And maybe we need to think about doing metered parking if we can't enforce our bylaws. Not that I would want to go there, but as to try and find a way to keep the parking so that people don't. I mean, I do know people that have come to town and left because they couldn't find parking. Some solutions to think about.
Interesting that this question is getting a crowd. It's been a fairly quiet crowd. Now we're getting some about parking. John, last one for you on parking spaces.
Who knew parking, eh? Do I feel parking is necessary in downtown? Yes. I think we need places for the people who work there to park. We need places for the people who want to shop there to park. Is there adequate right now? No. Was there used parking that was adequate? Possibly. I mean, you had private property being used as a parking lot instead of a municipal parking lot. Why was that? Why across the street? It was only across the street. So is there need? Yes. If we're going to need that spot right close to Front Street as municipal parking, then maybe it should be leased. Maybe it should be purchased if that's what we need. It's a vacant lot right now. It could be a parking lot if that's what we really wanted it to be. I mean, who knows? Is that what we want? Not personally. I think more signage over by the church would be a brilliant idea. And again, yes, maybe staff should be asked to park down there. Maybe they should be asked not to park right in front of the places where they work so that customers can do that. I personally would have thought that would have been more common courtesy than not. So.
Great, thank you, John. I've got a mitt full of questions. We're about 25 after 8. People are still feeling pretty good about where we're at here. Haven't seen anybody leave yet. That's a good sign. On a Tuesday night. I can see Jan's headlines based on the answer to this question. Are you ready for this one? Should we strive to discourage motorcycles that are legally too loud? The crowd likes this question. With Michael, with his very best short answer.
That are too loud, yes.
Legally too loud.
Legally too loud, yes.
Yes. Molly.
You know, I guess my question would be, how would we police that? How would we enforce that? I mean, is there going to be somebody standing at the four-way stop by Mohawk, and if somebody comes by with the two large, run up the street and stop them? So, I mean, nobody likes to have their peace, disturbed, but we have to be realistic in how we, if we're going to have a rule like that, we have to have a way to enforce it.
Thank you, Molly. Henry.
Yeah, if they are illegal, over the limit noise, whatever it will be, I think that is something the RCMP is supposed to do. They come up before they get here, so that we don't have that problem.
Fair enough. John.
Should we discourage it? I thought we already did, isn't that?
Should we strive to discourage?
I thought that's what we were doing by that time. We asked them to please ride quietly. That's all we can do. We don't have the authority to enforce it. Do we want them coming through here? Not necessarily if they're going to wake us up and disturb us in the middle of the night or at all hours of the day or night, especially on our weekends when we're trying to relax. I try to relax. Really, I do. I think what we need to do is, I think we need to encourage them to still come to Caswell, but I think we need to encourage them to respect the peace and quiet that we love about the village.
Thank you. Greg.
Well, the reality is that legally loud has been defeated in the courts in Kamloops, as a matter of fact. The judge could not find the person because the legal arrangement about a loud motorcycle is a little vague. Even Jake brakes on log trucks is a little touchy in terms of, I don't think most trucks are going through town with their Jake brakes on. So I think, I like the sign out there. I think that makes a statement. I don't think there's been as much motorcycle noise this year as there has been in other years, and I think that's a result of the sign. I think that there is no doubt that we are going to see an increased amount of motorcycle traffic, and I don't see a bunch of young people. I see mostly older people. So I think if the odd person, if everybody in town was totally honest and never been fined for anything, that would be one thing. So if the odd guy is a little bit out of touch, I think citizens would let them know. So I think the signage is the key to respect.
Point of fact.
Is it a point of order or a point of fact?
Point of fact. The sign was on the south side of town. I paid for that.
Okay.
All right. It was put up by me and a couple of other people in town who wanted to see motorcycles done well. Now, it was vandalized, and it's down now, and it was vandalized by the fellow who led the petition here in town against motorcycles. That same person vandalized a number of bikes near the hotel and a number of bikes behind Teresa's place, kicked them over and poured old oil on them. We know it. We have him on camera. They're an important part of our business here in town. If you can't put up a sign that says, please drive quietly, which is what we put up, and not have it vandalized by somebody who thinks he's protecting the community by passing petitions, and when he wasn't satisfied with what he got from the petition, he started vandalizing bikes. That's what happened to the sign.
Thank you for the point of fact. I don't want to discourage discourse in this room. I mean, it's your meeting. I appreciate that. You may want to throw your hat in the ring to run and sit on the table. An opinion or two about these things, which I think is fantastic. Fantastic. We do have one more answer on this question now that we've clarified the history of the sign.
Right. I don't really think it's enforceable either. I've noticed this year they have been quieter. And I think it is because of those signs and because we welcome our motorcyclists. I made a point to talk to them, to get to know them. My aunt and uncle came through on their motorcycle, and it is the older population. They're not the reckless, want to be loud. I think as they understand, we enjoy our peace, our quiet of our town, they'll listen to us. So I think what we're doing is good, and just more signs, and let's help John and the rest of the community get that sign back up.
Very good, thank you, Justin. Kind of an interesting segue, given your intervention there, John. Here's the next question. I understand that there is an expansion of the Caslow airstrip with fencing, etc. I gather the material is paid for by various grants. However, the work is provided by the village crew, i.e. taxpayers. What are the opinions of the candidates about the ongoing expansion? And Dustin will start with you.
Damn. It's a great question because I think our airport can bring Caslow something, whether it's people flying in. We met a guy who has a flying car, or he's going to get a flying car where you could fly from community. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I mean, I think two things. One, I think our airport can be used for something better than an airport. I don't think that tax dollars should go towards it. The people that are at the airport, that own the hangars, that use the airplanes should mainly be in charge of whatever, cleaning the snow or whatever the village has to do. I don't think it should come out of taxpayers' money. I think that Airport Society, they say they want to operate as a social enterprise or a community contribution corporation. Whatever it is, that means that they're planning on making money. So make money and support the airport. The village has gracefully got the land for you. Now take care of it.
Thank you, Dustin. Craig.
Well, I've been working on that airport now for 16 years because it is one of the last easily accessible industrial properties in this part of the Kootenays. Nelson's got very little industrial land left. And all people see is the airstrip. Well, it's much bigger. Well, and John, you planted a corner of it. So it's a huge economic opportunity if we can market it. And so a society was formed to do it, but it's been a bit of a hassle. And the fencing was, thanks to John Addison, got a $70,000 grant to get some security so that pilots landing there had some sense that their planes wouldn't be vandalized. This last winter, Stellar Heliski were operating out of there continuously, and that's just the beginning of helicopter tourism, whether people support it or not. It's coming to Caslow. And the local outfit are now have devices on their helicopters for flying people uphill so they can mountain bike downhill. And that kind of appeals to me because I don't do uphill that good anymore. So the airport to me has been, it's what created the dam because they had to fly stuff in there. There are some issues around concerns about peace and quiet. Okay, airplanes are a little noisy. The other thing is we had an air ambulance come into that airport and had a letter written to I think it went to council, stating that it's not that safe and it's a little bit tricky and why can't we, improve the airport to the point where we can get an air ambulance in here. So I would continue to try and bring council's attention to the fact that this airport could be a significant economic driver. I'm thinking community forest and value-added manufacturing on those lands. I'm thinking recreational opportunities there. Most people don't really know, but I think the Chamber of Commerce might help you understand, or I could talk about this for hours.
And I'm sorry I can't let you talk about this whole question for hours. It's got nothing to do with your answer. I hope you understand. John.
As far as the expansion goes, when it comes to issues like the air ambulance, when it comes to community safety and community health, should the village be paying for that? I believe so. That should be part of the village's responsibility to look after the health care of everybody involved. As far as that goes, I would not have a problem with committing taxpayer money to anything that was necessary to ensure that that was accessible to all. Anything else, definitely not out of taxpayers' money. Whether it involved tourism or not, stellar house skiing was mentioned. Other than corporate taxes, stellar house skiing brings people in, granted. They're making money off of everything they do. They should be paid for upkeep for all of the services that they use. Maybe by user, fee for use. I don't know. But I don't think the taxpayer should be paying for it if it doesn't benefit all of us.
Thank you, John.
The airport is a very important thing, and it is also like Greg was saying, it's being used more. I think there was some kind of a security and also a insurance issue with having it not protected here at the town. I'm not 100% sure, but the town was working on there that they donated to other people in town, to groups, 8 hours of manpower to help out with certain projects, what I think is not a bad idea also. It might have been donated time 8 hours. If it is more than that, I don't know. And other community groups has also benefited from the 8 hour that they would not donate money, but they would donate 8 hours of work. I don't know exactly the details, but something like that was done. So yes, I paid for it, but I think it's great that we can help each other a little bit here and there.
Thank you, Henry. Molly.
Well, the airport is actually a community asset, and for many, many years, nothing happened at the airport. As Greg said, a committee started, and they were able to get some grants, and so a lot of work did get done on the airport. That's a good point that Henry brought up. The village did allow the crew to go and work at the golf course for 8 hours. So, do we really want taxpayers' money paying for that? But then how do you decide which is the most important thing? It is an asset, just like the park is an asset. The village crew goes down there and does work down there. So hopefully the committee can continue to try and find grants so that tax dollars don't have to get put into that. But it is part of our community, and that is what the village crew does.
Just a point of order, John. What happened at the airport, thanks to John Addison, who got a grant for $70,000. So the village then took it over. So I'm assuming, although I don't have the details.
But let's keep a real short point of order.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that if there's a perception out there that taxpayer dollars were spent, no, it wasn't. What was spent was a $70,000 grant for fencing and security.
To repeat, I think the question is really clear. The work was provided by the village crew, i.e. taxpayers. What are the opinions of the candidates about the ongoing expansions? Thank you, Molly, for your answer and your clarification, Greg. Michael, you're last on this particular question.
But not least.
Never.
Okay. I came from the Lower Mainland, and every town now has, or section, Chilliwack, Aldergrove, Abbotsford, they've all got their own airport. And I do not see the significance of it. For us to pay for it with taxpayers' dollars, any upkeep, I think we've got more pressing things in our village than something up there that is the private business, really. I think money can be better spent. I think we really have to analyze. It's easy to say, oh, it benefits, or we got some grant money. But really, when it boils down to it, what benefit? Don't just shoot this stuff off. What benefit? And I think this, again, comes to our not really knowing what's going on here. But hey, having our crews work on private venture, no, I don't think so. Golly, if you can afford to do that, then pay for it yourself. Don't ask us taxpayers to do it. And if you do, show us what's in it for us. What's our benefit? We're getting squeezed more and more and more, and the grant money is running out. If you read a lot of the projects that were out there that were pouring money into, the Basin Trust, they're dry, they're gone. And there's not going to be these big, huge grants that people keep saying, oh, we can't. Okay. Great.
Thank you, Michael. We've got 20 minutes until we said we'd leave. There's 5 more questions. We're shooting about a minute each. Some people are on the parsimonious side, and some people are on the somewhat corpulent side of that 1 minute break. Let's try and move through these questions because they're all important. And thank you everybody for writing down your questions. This one is directed obviously to everybody, and I'm going to start with Molly. It's important to be a team player. Oh, by the way, this one introduces a word twice that I've never heard before, but I'm grateful for this word. It's important to be a team player and to promote teamness on council. How do you see yourself as a team player, and what actions, not ideas, what actions can you suggest to encourage teamness? What actions can you suggest to encourage teamness? Molly, starting with you.
I think everybody needs an opportunity to speak when we're discussing an issue. I think that you need to go into it with an open mind. I mean, don't have your mind made up before you get at the table and listen to what other people have to say. I think it's important that we're all provided with the same information so that we can all make the correct decision. And I think we just encourage people to be open and honest and respect what people have to say.
Thank you, Molly. John.
Wow, teamness, that's a hard one. Teamness is really hard to find. I've spent all of my life, well, not all of my life, but a lot of my life working with large and small groups of people, a lot of it being customer service, meaning I'm dealing with people that I don't necessarily know, but I get to deal with them one-on-one. That to me is what teamwork is all about, being able to work with people. What I would actively do, I would actively make sure that everyone on council, everyone that was attending a council meeting knew that I was respectful, that I was honest, and that I was sincere in everything I did and said.
Thank you, John. Henry.
That's another word to my vocabulary.
Do you have a Dutch word for team? That might be a Dutch word.
Maybe. Yeah, you have to work together if you want to accomplish something, because butting heads is usually not the nicest way to go. So you got to be open and honest with each other there, and listen. And Molly got it actually all down to pat there, so I can't do that any better. Sorry.
That's great teamness to just
I'll never forget that word.
Dustin.
I've thought about this quite a bit. First of all, I really like the people that are on council right now. I like Kelly, I like Jimmy, I like Rob. You know, they're friends. And one action that I see, like, I guess working at community services, we have a great team there. Our staff all gets along, and I think one of the reasons is because we have retreats. We have 1-2 days every year where we just get together and we do exercises together and learn about our organization and what we do. One thing I've been looking a lot at is something called holistic management, which helps take an inventory of all of your assets that you have in your organization. Beyond just financial assets, anything from like spiritual assets to actual assets, knowledge assets, kind of make a list of all these things, and at the end of that it kind of gives you a decision-making process where you go through a 9-step decision making. We use it at the Food Hub now on a regular basis to make decisions when we're deciding to take over the farmers, or not take over, but do the farmers market. And basically in council, I think by inventorying all of our assets that we have in the community, our quality of life statements, our values of the community, when it comes time to make a decision as a team, to have a process to follow is one action called holistic management that I would really like to partake in with council, and yeah, I find it super valuable.
Thank you, Dustin. Michael.
I think transparency is really the way to get teamness. To not adopt the policy of being the boss, but being a part of the team. That's what we achieve.
Great, thank you. And Greg, there's caboose on this teamness train.
Well, read the Municipal Act. That's the first thing that people should do to try and understand how a municipal council works. And I think that there's a lot of regulatory requirements of a council who tax people and have to try and figure out a way for those benefits to accrue. But there is a mechanism, and I think, you know, we did fairly well. An official community plan has already spelled out, so I would encourage everybody, read the official community plan. And there was public input and I was involved there when we transitioned from a consulting firm from Vancouver. Molly would remember this, and we did it ourselves. Was it a perfect official community plan? No. But what we did is we wrote into the plan that any citizen that had an issue could write a letter. It would be held, and rather than just do it one or two, three times, because you got to go to public, that letter would then go in a file to be addressed when you review the plan. Plans change, things change. So for me, it's trying to get people to understand, you know, you have a municipality, it's controlled by certain rules and regulations, but I think the official community plan is the place where you can bring some focus. And you know what, maybe you're not going to get what you want in the first review of the plan, but at least if you raise it, you may get it later on. So the official community plan, to me, I think was a real step forward. And this is where public involvement, public meetings and roundtables could enhance the plan that recognizes the way in which Caslo wishes to progress.
Thank you, Greg. We've got about 15 minutes, 3 questions. We're right on pace here, well done. 2 specific questions, and we're going to end with a more general question. This one is something that we've heard a lot about over the last few years. Try and keep your answers short because we want to get into the rest of these questions. What would you do to help recruit a doctor to Caslo to bring back 24/7 doctor care to Caslo? We're going to start with Henry.
That's a good one. I think first we got to get rid of the government.
Are you starting with mayor and council?
Like those decision makers that are way in the bush because they don't have a clue our geographic situation. Because sometimes they phone you from Cologne and they want you to be there this afternoon for a specialist. Do you have any clue where the heck Castle is? I don't think half those people that make those decisions way out on the west, the rest there, have an idea what we do here or what we have here. I think it's horrible that we lose any of these services to us, but what to do about it, I haven't a clue. I know what I would like to do, but I don't think I should. No, if somebody would come from those people here and have an accident or so, I would just leave them on the bloody road.
Jan, put your pen down.
No, that's what needs to happen. Some of those officials that make those decisions should come here and have an accident and then, oh, sorry, it's 5 o'clock. You know, he can't help you.
Is that called feeling our pain?
We'll have to wait for an ambulance from Nelson because half the time it is not here. It is bizarre.
Thank you, Henry. Michael.
I would try and get the province to bring in the system. There's a lot of people that cannot afford to go to university now, especially medical. I was talking to someone and their daughter is going to be $500,000 in debt to become a doctor, right? And what do we have to offer someone that's also going to pay that off in 3 years? You know, unless they like the peaceful lifestyle, it's going to be hard. But what if we were to actually pay for their education, not us in Caslo, but the province, We pay their education like the military does, and we will also give you a salary or stipend or whatever you want to call it. And after you graduate, we will give you a third less pay, but you will work where we send you to whatever community needs you for 5 years. For one, and there's an ulterior motive there, is once they live in the community for 5 years, chances are they're going to want to stay because they're going to be in love with it. And I think people that came to Caswell that even decided I'm leaving would be back in a couple of years. But I think it's one way. We're providing a service in a way, the province, by providing their education, helping them get a career that they might not have been able to afford. And they're coming back and they're helping us. And that third less pay, that goes into supporting the program. So it doesn't keep coming out of the province's revenues. It actually continues to be self-perpetuating. And it benefits everyone.
Thank you, Michael. Greg?
Well, certainly my political journey with Interior Health has been challenging. And I've reached a point where I really believe that we need two health authorities. We need an urban one, the Children's Hospital comes to mind, and we need one rural health authority. Because what's the difference between Stewart, British Columbia, and Caswell, British Columbia? And yet you have these health authorities competing. Doctors get a better deal in Stewart than they do in Caswell. So I find the whole thing. But the issue really is, and Interior Health think that the small town doctor has died. That's their view, and that's the reason that Caswell cannot support 24/7. And I don't happen to agree with that. I think that a fee-for-service doctor that's a lifestyle doctor, if we advertise our community, if we work towards a situation where we can provide a doctor the opportunity to provide a 24/7, and there's some significant challenges there. So where I'm at, I'm going to continue to work for trying to get 24/7 service at that hospital. Having said that, technologically, doctors are plugged into the internet, especially millennial doctors. They're plugged into the internet. That's why we have high speed in Caswell. That doctor can get x-rays, anything they want. So I think we just, Interior Health are a barrier in rural British Columbia, and I think they need to be reorganized.
Don't feel you have to stop clapping. I don't think I felt people kind of hold up here. We've got a beautiful night in Caswell. We're going to go to Molly.
I don't want to say no comment, but that's a really great question, I think. I think that probably what I would do is really try to support the committee that's been trying to do that for a long time. And, you know, I agree with Greg that maybe there needs to be some changes at the IHA, but that's not going to address the immediate problem. I know that the province at different times has tried to promote community nurses, and I think we really need to continue to push those programs so that we at least have something. So I would continue to really try and support the committee that's trying to find 24/7, you know, promote that and find doctors to come home.
Thank you, Molly. John?
I don't think that we can rely on anybody else to solve this problem for us. It's not going to come from Interior Health. It's not going to come from the province, at least not in time. If we want to do it, we've got to do it ourselves. And what are we going to do? I don't know. Nobody else does. But I can guarantee you one thing. Whatever it takes, that's what I'll do. I will. We will get health care back in Caswell somehow.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, John. Dustin, you're last on the list for this question.
All right. Well, I sat on the Caswell Area Medical Society board, and I learned a lot about this whole situation with IHA, and interviewed a lot of doctors and talked to a lot of people, and frankly, it's a very, very hard task to get a doctor, even though Caswell is great and beautiful to recruit, and I wish I have almost decided to stop putting my energy necessarily in trying to get a doctor to come here, and I'm going to put my energy into going and getting my wilderness first aid. and also, I know it's funny, I know, but it's like, well, what are we going to do? Like, I want to be able to take care of myself and take care of my family in any situation. And then I want our emergency response team to be the best, you know? They are, and keep supporting them and get more ambulances and more people and more EMTs. I don't see interior health flipping over anytime soon. So why not, in a sense, right now, take it into our own hands. Let's run a course. Let's get us all trained in first aid and medical care and be a community that takes care of each other. And in the meantime, when our miracle doctor shows up that wants to work 24/7, we'll take you open-heartedly, we'll take care of you and make you part of our community. But until then, let's take care of each other and do the best we can there. And yeah, I know it's funny, but that's my if you want a solution, that's what I got.
Two more questions. The next one is actually sort of similar about services and has a bit of a preamble. Subheading transportation problems. Greyhound Bus Company is cutting its daily bus, one east and one west, to just one a week. Many of us depend on Greyhound to make medical appointments in Kelowna, visit relatives in Vancouver, etc. Would you on council get behind the movement to either fight or come up with an alternative? It's about Greyhound and public transportation, and we are going to start with Dustin.
Of course, they'll get behind any alternative solution and helping to create public transportation. It's the way of the future. Gas is not going to get cheaper. Transportation is not going to get cheaper. I belong to Kootenay Rideshare. I belong to the Kootenay Car Share Co-op. I belong to all of these, organizations that help people get around easier and share costs of rides. And I'm open to any solution, and I'm already part of some of the solutions. So, Greyhound's a corporation, we expect they're just going to cut costs where they have to. Again, keep finding our own internal ways here.
Thank you, Dustin. Greg?
I would get very politically active with Greyhound. I think they have a mandate to service rural areas, and if they and there's a cost involved, and perhaps the government should step up and share that cost, in my opinion, because it's that rural-urban divide. Look at the benefits you have in urban areas in terms of transportation, and yet we who live in rural areas are not serviced in an equitable manner. So I'd be going after, and I think they already are, going after Greyhound. The regional district has written a letter saying this is wrong, and I think the more councils that write letters and get politically active on that particular file, it might make a difference.
Thank you, Greg. John?
I would definitely get behind anything like that. I think this is another one of those situations where, as was mentioned earlier, communities coming together and fighting as a collective as opposed to individually would be a great asset. I think the power is much greater when there are more people involved in the putting out of the voice. And if we got together, I believe that if we got together to do it, it could happen, and we would. I mean, I said this a lot tonight, I know. Transportation is important, and we cannot end up isolated, ultimately. So we have to fight for our right to be able to get around and get to what we need. Definitely do that and support it.
Thank you, John. Henry?
That's an interesting one because it's a private enterprise, isn't it? The Greyhound is not owned by the government, so it's going to be hard to dictate. However, so maybe there's room for competition. I don't know. It is a shame because, like you said, we want to cut down on carbon. That is a nice way to go. All on one bus. And I don't know what to tell you. I would support it if you would try to, I don't know what was that, but with the other communities to get together to kind of try to change that. But I don't know. No, I don't have any other. That's my answer.
Okay, great, thank you. Molly?
Well, I would certainly, encourage council to write a letter to Greyhound as well, but also not, try to find alternate solutions. I mean, we have a community bus, maybe we could expand the area that it goes. We're trying to reduce our carbon footprint, so the car share, those kind of things are always efficient. I think the community services, did I read that they bought a bus?
Yeah, they used to purchase the bus that will be available for rent. and taken
Right,
to
so
any people
there's
that-
another alternative that maybe we can look at.
Thank you, Molly.
So there's options.
That's great. Michael, last one on the bus transportation question.
I think this is one of the things where I'm saying that as communities, we should come together and talk and come up with solutions. 1,000 brains are better than one. Greyhound canceling its service, or almost, they know crap's going to hit the fan. They've made that decision. Can we put enough pressure on them to make them alter it? Probably not. I mean, all reality, it sounds good, but probably not, because they're expecting it. Right. I think we need to find out what benefits do they get from the government to even provide the minimal service they do, and see if that can't be rechanneled. Maybe we as Kootenays can come up with our own bus service, and is that a possibility? Is it feasible with the government funding that they give them? We get that funding and provide our own service. It's something worth looking into. I mean, if we've got car share and that, why can't we do a bus share kind of thing?
Thank you, Michael. Interesting question. We have one question left. We're just after 9 o'clock. Should we just forget the last question? I mean, keeping this one because I think it's a nice question to end on. I'd first of all like to thank each of you. Great questions, and candidates, I think you've done an exceptional job of listening to the questions and being respectful to each other and providing really honest answers. So I know you made my job as moderator very easy. Thank you very much for that. This is the last question, and then we can get on with our weekends.
Starting on Tuesday.
That got really confusing. And we're going to go in the reverse order of just the last round there, so we will start with cheat sheet here. We'll start with Michael on this one. You ready for this one, Michael? You have a minute. Do you think that it is better to support the needs of the community or the wishes of the community?
I think the wishes of the community is the needs of the community, so I will support the wishes of the community.
Very good. Thank you for your answer to that one. Want to mix up here? Molly?
I agree, I think they're connected. I think that, I think we need to do both. I mean, we need to listen to what people want, but we also need to ensure that people have the services that we need in order to be able to live here.
Very good, thank you. Henry, do you think it's better to support the needs of the community or the wishes of the community?
Now, I would say the needs would be foremost, the first on my list, and then the wishes, if you have, that would be second. It's like Molly said, it's kind of connected together, but I think the needs are foremost.
Very good, thank you. John?
Definitely the wishes of the community over the needs. I don't believe that there is anybody who would actually wish for something that they didn't need. I don't believe the majority of people are that greedy. And therefore, if I listen to what you wish for, I'm actually listening to what you need.
Thank you, John. Greg?
Well, I'm going to suggest again that the official community plan is a reflection. Number one, it's a requirement for the small community grant of $360,000 or whatever it is. And if you don't have an official community plan, you don't get that money. So suddenly your taxes are going to go way out of sight. So, like it or not, the government introduced the concept that each community would come up with an official community plan that reflects the wishes of the community. And it was a large public involvement process. It has a life. It will continue. It will go on. But it's in the framework of the regulatory mechanisms by which we choose to govern ourselves. Like it or not, there are laws and regulations that have been debated, passed, and moving on. They can be changed, But I still like the official community plan because it is a mechanism that lets the community focus on its wishes. And then it gets down to how you pay for it.
Thank you, Greg. Dustin, you have the great honor of being the last person to answer the last question. Wishes or needs of the community?
Well, needs, we have to take care of our needs first. I work downstairs with the food hub. We make sure everyone is provided with good food. And then housing, that is the same thing. We need to make sure everyone has a roof over their head, good water to drink. Then we can go off on our wishes. Then we can go kayaking and skiing and doing all these fun things. They tie hand in hand. And I see a healthy community that works together, being able to fulfill and go for all of our wishes. I have lots of wishes and things and desires. I went to the trouble of printing off some of these reports from the Business Retention and Expansion Project, Kickstart Caslo from Community Forums. Yeah, and just that sort of go through all of this information that we've been capturing over the last while. If anyone wants to see any of these reports, because I get to last speak, I have them. We're going to be here tomorrow from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock? 4 o'clock?
No.
It's not here at the seniors hall. Can someone remind us of the
Seniors hall.
exact details? 1 to 3 at the seniors hall tomorrow is a
1
to 4. It's like meet and greet.
Yeah.
A little bit of, yeah.
Each nominee will have a table,
Great.
and it'll be an ability for you to ask that person what they think and circulate around the room. Like, it's not open forum.
So seniors hall tomorrow, 1 to 4. When do we vote?
November 4th.
November 4th, which is next Sunday?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday? Are there any other election or voting facts, not platform related opinions?
I think there's an advance poll.
Is there an advance poll?
It has
The good news is there's an advance poll, the bad news is it's already happened.
And the vote is 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night.
8 till 8,
Seniors Hall.
next Saturday, seniors hall. Thank you
Thank you
very
all
much.
for running.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys.